Good morning. It is Wednesday, February 26th, 2025. I'm Anthony, and this is Drive Dive. So, real quick, I hope you will watch this whole video. I just want to share quickly that I'm going to dive into James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, and part of what he describes, separating the great from the good, is doing the boring things consistently. He talks about an example with athletics and his own experience as a baseball player. I'll elaborate a little bit on that, what it means to me in terms of my career, my athletic endeavors, fitness endeavors, and even my relationships. I think it's important to really talk about some of the boring things and how doing them can make you great in those particular areas. So, a bit about me, right? Husband, father, teacher. Have an hour-long drive. Try to record these videos to make that hour-long drive less boring, right? So I think it kind of hits home or proves the point on that one. Just right, I'm doing this boring thing every day, but I'm also making the most of it by recording these videos, creating this content, helping myself from sort of a therapeutic lens, and then I hope helping motivate and inspire you as well. So as I said, James Clear, he talks about his experience as a former baseball player, and then at some point talking with a trainer or coach of some kind who'd worked with world-class athletes and things, and James posed the question to that trainer of what in your mind, in your experience, really separates the absolute best world class from everyone else, and that coach had said it's just the ability to do the boring over and over, and I think that's sort of what James talks about is we've sort of been disillusioned, right? We have this false belief that says those who are great, right, in any walk of life, the greatest of the great have some sort of undying passion or no lack of energy and all this other stuff, and it's really just that they embrace the grind, as the saying goes, that they do the boring things, all the little things with consistency, and just get all the little things that need to get done in order to really continue making progress after the initial novelty, excitement, buzz have kind of worn off, that they're able to continue in the face of hardship and adversity and maybe not immediate payoff, right? They're able to just persevere and continue doing those little things, the daily routines, and finish the mission or whatever it is. So for me, right, in my career, I think as an educator, really thinking about what makes education so tough is that there is a lot of that boring. You go into education, you're right, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and thinking about the difference that you're going to make, and right, I really love this subject matter. I'm going to bring this energy. I'm going to bring this passion, and I'm going to really reach a lot of kids. And listen, while you do that over time, right, and I can share some of my favorite moments throughout my adult life have been connecting with former students on platforms like LinkedIn and Facebook, and were there thanking me for having such an impact on their life. Thinking of one student in particular, Kayla, who has gone on to gain her master's in engineering. Forgive me for not knowing specifically which field or branch within engineering, but has reached out on a couple of occasions to thank me and celebrate me as an educator, and that's been awesome, right? I've run into students who themselves became mathematics educators, and to be able to say hi and oh wow, that's awesome, and just know that in some small way, at least in some small way, I did encourage and motivate and contribute to their overall success, and that feels good, right? I mean, that's what I guess what we say would sustain you and keep you motivated, keep you going. But the boring in between, right, is the lesson planning and the grading and all the emails and parent teacher conferences and back to school nights, right? There's a lot of these late night activities that you have to prepare for, and that can be very boring. The lesson planning is such a chore. And that's why I think there's a lot of buzz right now around AI and how can you use AI to, tackle some of these, boring and mundane tasks, right? The grading, lots of platforms offer automated grading, right? That's the appeal of these products and things and technologies, right? Is to eliminate some of that boredom from the field. But that's really, I think, what, if you're willing to do the boring, can separate you, as a great educator, right? I mean, we have to, I think, take some more advanced coursework. I think, right, engage in professional development, do some research to create different activities, right? The activity's fun. The activity is the fun part, right? And seeing kids engage with the content, actually talk to one another, right? If you can get them out of their seats, things like that are fun. But the boring is the finding those activities, creating those activities, preparing for those activities. All of those things can be very, very boring. They can be chores. They can be, I don't know, right? Just a bit much at times, and take away from the joy of teaching. But in order to get to that joy, to those fun-filled activities, engaging activities, we have to do the boring. Extending on, I guess, James is a brief discussion about athletics and being a better athlete through embracing some of these boring activities. I'll share with you all that over the past roughly 2.5 years, I have lost 50 pounds. Thank you. It's been a thing for me where, just in my, man, I was a high school athlete. I dabbled a little bit in college athletics, and once college was over and I needed a goal, I started to get into like natural bodybuilding and working with coaches and trying to get, lean and whatnot. And the first go around, I was probably like, I don't know, I would hope just shy of maybe like 200 pounds or something like that. And the first coach I worked with, a guy by the name of Phil Satilli, I think we just took like a crash diet approach. It was like, here's the date, let's just, lose as much weight as we possibly can. And he gave me like a bare bones diet. It's like all protein and vegetables, very, very little carbohydrate. And we basically did like, 2 hours of cardio a day. I pretty much went to the gym like every single day for an hour in the morning to just do cardio in a fasted state, right? Then in the afternoon, I would go back and hit the weights he was like, just hit the weights for a half hour, like don't stop moving, engage various muscle groups, half hour, and then go do another hour of cardio. And I did manage to get down to somewhere like 160, 165 and compete in my first ever, bodybuilding competition. And then of course afterward, I'm like, it took, I don't know, it was a couple months. It was maybe 2.5, 3 months where I managed to lose, I don't know, somewhere between, it couldn't have been that much weight. I don't know, memory fails here, 25, 30 pounds, something like that. It sounds gross to do in such a short span of time. But like I said, bare bones, high protein and like vegetable laden diet, very little carb, tons of cardio, just to get that deficit, caloric deficit going. But then, you're right, so that was like my mid-20s. I'm 40 now. My weight had kind of just been as low as, like I said, somewhere in that 160, 165 range, and then all the way up to, the 200s, the 215 was sort of, was the highest. But then getting into my career, starting a family, and it was like shortly before my daughter was born, right? August of 2022. She's born in October. And my wife and I had gone on a bit of a baby moon, right? Anniversary vacation. And, I start looking around. I'm like, man, like there are some dudes here who are in pretty good shape, right? I mean, some younger, so understandably, right, don't have the commitments and things like that and able to hit the gym like I was. So, okay, fine. But a couple of older dudes too, where it was like very clear that, they had families. And, I wonder if that guy's a runner sort of thing, And I'm like, I got to do better. I can be in better shape. And so another coach I'd worked with prior, Joe Franco, and I thought, had some success with, and had gotten down to, I think, a healthier weight range, and looked a little fuller, a little better. Took a bit more measured, I guess, of an approach. And I think at one point, I think he had me down to probably somewhere like the 170s. I needed to be leaner in order to do well in that particular competition, but I think it was just a healthier approach. So I reached out to him, and we got working together again. He helps me with the diet, mostly just write the macros, and I have to pick out the foods and everything. But essentially, over the past 2.5 years, and losing 50 pounds, I eat the same thing every day at the same time. That's pretty much my very, very, very boring approach. And it works for me. I love it. I enjoy it. I'd rather not have to think about, what I'm going to do for lunch, what I'm going to do for dinner, and just eat the same thing every day. I love it. I think periodically, based on my progress and things, Joe and I would make some tweaks, right? Trying to reduce the number of grams of fat in my diet. I might shift from like a 2% milk down to skim milk, or go from the 5% fat Greek yogurt down to the 2%, down to the 0%. Instead of 3/4 of a cup, go down slightly to 2/3 cup of corn Chex. Right, is one of the foods that I enjoy eating, and good source of carbohydrate, in my opinion, that works for me. So, like, I can tell you, that I've done it again for so long that right now I'm eating for breakfast 3/4 cup of oatmeal with some salt, some cinnamon. I don't measure those things, but 3/4 cup of oatmeal, 8 ounces of milk with a scoop of protein, and about a tablespoon of peanut butter. I mean, I can get a little liberal with the peanut butter sometimes, but that's my breakfast. Lunch is a can of tuna fish, the albacore tuna, a 1/3 cup of rice. I toss in some leafy greens. I don't really measure it, but whether it's, romaine lettuce, or I love arugula. What else? 3/4 cup of cereal, usually corn Chex. I dig that stuff. 4 or 5 prunes. And that's it. I do eat, chew through about 3/4 cup of sunflower seeds a day. Keep my fats up. It was like a 1/4 cup of cashew, but I like the sunflower seed. Dinner is 4.5 ounces of chicken, some vegetables, like I said, some leafy greens, and I have 2/3 of a cup of Fiber One. Then later on, bedtime, it's oh my goodness, what is it? I don't know. It's egg whites. I can't tell you how much. You get the whole quart, and I think that's like 4 servings for me. So, so some egg whites, another 1/3 cup of rice, an apple, and then right now it's 0% Greek yogurt from Faye. Whatever that container is, the big one, a 1/5 of that basically, and then another tablespoon of peanut butter. So, I mean, that's what I eat every single day. It drives people nuts, right? As a little segue, it drives my wife insane. It's just not her cup of tea, right? And it's, dinner, she's like, I can't eat chicken all the time, right? So it does drive her nuts, and I don't blame anybody for it. James Clear, I think, makes it clear that, it's just not something that a lot of people want to do, right? Boring every single day. But I love it. I love the training, right? I keep a notebook. I write down all the exercises, the reps, the weights, and documenting it. It's pretty boring. Joe asks me to fill out a spreadsheet every week, which I'm not very good about doing. But, no, come on, man. Like, I'm doing it. But yeah, he wants me to write down he wants me to keep track of how much sleep I get every night, how many steps I take in a day. Really, really write down, paying attention to those macros, like I said, and just for simplicity's sake, I eat the same thing every day. Keep track of those macros, how many steps, track my body weight, and report that on a weekly basis. And then every other week, send him some progress photos. And it's like, right, all of that I'm sure it sounds incredibly boring, but I love it. I love it, and I think that's why I have done well, in that domain, right? That part of my life, this fitness regimen and being able to lose, like I said, 50 pounds in about 2.5 years. Maybe some people could do it faster. I don't know, but this was just a steady, measured, and I think ultimately a very healthy approach to it. But then I've been thinking a lot about the relationship that I have with my wife, right? The relationship she and I have. And I realized that, right, in therapy, talking with my therapist about different things that irk me and whatnot, and I realized that, I think, right, like when you first start dating someone, everything's so fun, it's so new, it's so exciting, but now we are here later, right, with the kids and the laundry and the dishes and the floors and the cutting the grass and right. It's like there's just so much boring, right? I mean, there's a word for it now. It's adulting, right? And so it drives people crazy. It's been driving us nuts, and I think really driving us apart in a lot of ways. And the specific example I can say is like just the small talk and the daily. How was your day? How was your morning? Right? And I'm sorry. I hope my wife doesn't hear this, but it's like we're driving once, and she's talking about like a farm and some kind of like outdoor covered area that was like wrapped in plastic, and I just remember thinking at the time, like, who cares? Like what is this? Like, and reflecting on it now after hearing this part of James Clear's book about the boring, it's like, like in my mind that was like as boring as a conversation with my wife could get, and I was freaking out on the inside. But thinking about it now, like you need to want the boring, and you need to engage in the boring, and it's the idea of, right, I have this goal, right? I had, and I still have, right, but I had the goal of getting into better shape, but I still want to get into even better shape. And so, right, with that goal, it was really easy for me to adopt that very boring. Oh man, there's so much more to talk about. But those are things, right? So James also talks about like your DNA, and just certain goals, certain habits, hobbies, routines are easier to pick up than others, right? Based on from one individual to another, certain things you're just more inclined to do. They're easier for you. They're easier to pick up. And so for me, the training and the dieting, right? Very, very, very easy for me to adopt and follow, that script, that routine, that daily, very boring grind. The relationship aspect of things, for various reasons, maybe I will put out some video content related to myself and my upbringing and some of the issues that I had as a child and how they're impacting my relationships now as an adult. I'm starting to realize, right, is then the harder things for me to pick up, have been throughout my entire life, I think, relationship building. It's just so true. This, right, engaging in small talk, etc. But I think I'm reminding myself now, as I'm recording, that I have this goal of having a positive, productive, meaningful, healthy relationship with my wife. And it's going to be boring. It's going to be boring. But I have to embrace that, and we have to talk about these things that seemingly don't matter, but they do matter, right? This practice of engaging in the boring small talk and whatever does actually strengthen the relationship, right? Separating the great from the good. You want a great relationship, like that's part of a great relationship. A long-lasting, healthy relationship is having those small conversations. And so I think that's it, right? I've been talking for about 20 minutes here. I hope I've helped. I hope you've stuck with me about some of these, specific examples. All right, from just this one quick idea in a late chapter of James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, talking about these very boring activities and how the great separate themselves by just doing the boring. And then my specific examples of how that applies in my career, how that applies in my personal pursuits, very personal fitness pursuits, and how that also applies in my relationship with my wife. So please take some time, comment down below your thoughts and how embracing the boring, doing the boring, might apply in your life, some of your goals. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you catch me on the next one, likely tomorrow. But yeah, with that, have a wonderful day, and yeah, see you in the morning.